Well, we had some technical difficulties. People said they couldn't hear, so I went ahead and ended the chat and started a new chat for making the case for your lawyer dreams. Technical difficulties happen just like things happen in life, and you have to adjust. Adjust. And so we're adjusting, modifying. Hopefully, Judge Elizabeth will be back with us shortly. Nevertheless, of course, this whole purpose is we want to try to make sure that you guys have these gems, have this information, so that way you guys are making the best decision possible when it comes towards you manifesting your lawyer dreams. The purpose of this series is to ensure that you guys get an opportunity to talk to people who are making moves and doing things that you want to do. And so I encourage you guys to fill our chat box up with questions to make sure that we utilize this opportunity to talk to a judge and get some of these questions that you guys are dying to ask. I know oftentimes when we see people on the gram rocking the robes, rocking the red bottoms, living that lawyer life that we dream or aspire to, at times we may find ourselves getting nervous, or at times we may say to ourselves, man, I don't want to look stupid asking them questions. But I want you guys to be able to realize that every judge, every lawyer, every person that you see flossing on the ground, they got there because they worked their butt off. And they also got there because guess what? They've been exactly where you are. And one of the things that you find that is very refreshing is that there's so many aspiring lawyers and judges who come from exactly where you are, come from the same lifestyle that you had. Judge Elizabeth says she came from a small town. I want you guys to utilize this as a chance. So fill up our chat box with questions for her, so that way we can try to make sure maximize this opportunity, and also try to figure out ways and things that you can try to do to add to your resume and approaches in regards to seeing the things that, of course, could help you be able to get to where she is. So we're going to get her back on here and try to sing again. Man, it's getting dark. All right, so our room is filling back up again. We back. First,
Okay,
we're gonna.
all right, we made it. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you perfectly.
Okay,
Can
all
you
right.
hear
So that's
me?
a
That's the
relift at
question.
all.
But can
Okay.
you hear me? We're good.
Yes, I took those headphones out because they were falling out and it was a mess. So yeah, so I can hear you.
All right, so fantastic. One of the things that I want to talk to you about, because I oftentimes want to normalize the experiences of judges and lawyers, because at times they see the road, they see the lifestyle, they see you on court TV, and they're like, "Oh man, I can't be a lawyer, I can't be a judge because I'm just not. I don't have that life." And so one of the things that I wanted you to share, because you briefly talked about it, of course, coming from a small town and starting with the dream of becoming a lawyer, like that, before you even got to the point of law school, share a little bit about your story and how you found your way, having to overcome so much just to get into law school, first off, because I'm sure that part wasn't easy. They see the road, but they need to see. A lot of times people see the road and they don't see the struggle that you had to think. They don't see the things
Right.
that you had to overcome. So I want to, of course, give you the floor to share some of those things.
Like I said earlier, I'm from a very small town. It's about an hour and a half south of Atlanta. So it's a town where it's one high school, one Walmart. When our Walmart opened, we had a big celebration. It's just really like a small town. So, like said before, I had inspiration in the form of my uncle, who was also an attorney, and I knew I wanted to help people. So I had uncles who had gone to the University of Georgia. One, in fact, was played on the football team. So it was always that two aspect of going to the University of Georgia. So I went there, and while I was there, I actually was a psychology major. And when I went to meet with my career guidance counsel, they told me I had to take a lot of science classes. Well, I hate science. So I was like, okay, now I'm trying to be a lawyer, not a doctor. So I need to set myself up in the best light so that my grades reflect my aptitude. So I changed my major to English because I did English, and it's like, no, that's not all it was. But I changed the major to English, and then I changed my minor to sociology. And my advice in that respect would be to go with something that you have an interest in that you can always fall back on too. So I like to write. And the English major helped with that. And I felt like, okay, if the law thing doesn't work out, I can always go back and teach. I can, write, whatever. So I chose my major based on that. So while I was in undergraduate, I did not seek out really any other attorneys to speak to, like, a lot of your viewers are doing now, tuning in to listen to someone who's a bar attorney and a judge is a very, very good thing to do as you consider law school. So I did not do any of that. So I sort of winged and did my own sort of, I took a LSAT study course somewhat, and got my own book. And I kind of did a lot of self-studying. So it just depends on what type of learner you are. If you're a self-starter, by all means, seek out the resources that you need to make sure that you get, put yourself in the best possible position to get in law school. But if you are someone who needs a little bit extra, maybe like a teaching approach, seek out LSAT study courses, because they are very helpful in sort of streamlining everything you need to know before you take the LSAT. So when I was applying to law schools, I didn't necessarily care where I went, in the sense that I wanted to just get out of Georgia. And that goes back to my small town upbringing, because I wanted just to go get out of Georgia. I lived in Georgia all my life, and that's just the truth, that I wanted to see what else was out there. And I also knew that I didn't want to pay a bunch of money for law school, because I didn't have any loans in undergraduate. I had scholarships there. So I was like, I'm going to get scholarships in law school. So the reason why I chose the University of Detroit is because they offered me a scholarship. So I didn't want to come out of law school with a lot of debt. So consider that when you're picking law schools, the price of the cost of school, and also the cost of living, because you still got to live when you're in law school. So it's not just going to be you paying for the law school. It's going to have to be you paying for some place to live and eat and play and drive and all these things. Life still happens around you going to school. So a lot of my decision was based on the fact that I did not have any undergraduate loans, and I did not want to have any debt or be, like I said, a slave to massive debt as I left law school. So once I decided to go to the University of Detroit, it was a big step for me, because I was from a small town, and then now I'm going to a huge city and a cold city. So that was another change for me, because it was freezing in Detroit, and I only came up there with a pea coat on. So it was just a lot of different changes, but I learned a lot. I would never change that experience, because without it, I don't think that I would have set myself up to be where I am today, because I truly feel like all of your experiences culminate into the person that you are today, whether they be bad experiences or good experiences. You have to learn from all of them. So a big challenge for me was getting adjusted to not being around my family while I was gone, and making new friends and learning new things. And so that made it difficult, but I feel as though it made me stronger. So as I left law school, I came back to Georgia, and mind you, I still kept in touch with a lot of people I knew in Georgia that were practicing. And in fact, all my summer internships were in Georgia, because I was learning Michigan law, but I still knew that I wanted to take the bar in Georgia. So I wanted to still keep abreast of all the changes or whatever the Georgia law at the time was. So once I got out of law school, I studied for the bar, took the bar, and then the recession hit. So a job that was lined up, but then the job had to be almost similar to the pandemic now. The job was gone because nobody had any money, because we were living in the middle of a recession. So I lawyer into practice. So I started taking, I went back to my small town, hometown of Milledgeville. So I started taking cases from family members and friends, and people would refer cases to me. And sometimes your family, and all the time, really your family is your strongest ally, maybe some of your best clients. So I was a lot of the business that came to me was from family and friends around Milledgeville. And so much so to the point where people were like, why don't you open up a practice in Milledgeville? And I was like, no, I want to go to Atlanta. So whatever your dream is, hold fast to it, because that is what is going to propel you ahead. And fortunately, I was able to, as the market started to open back up, I was able to get a position with a law firm And then from there, I went to the DA's office. And I will say that the DA's office, not only is the caseload about 200 cases, Fulton County, the county seat of the District of Atlanta, encompasses 12 cities, including Atlanta. So you're not just prosecuting cases from Atlanta, you're prosecuting cases from all Fulton County, including the schools that are in Atlanta, because each school, university, has its own police department, like Spelman or Morehouse. So you get from there. And that job really taught me how to fight, because the public defenders and the defense attorneys were fighting for their client, and it was like, you better believe you better be fighting for the state too. So from that experience, I was able to get a little bit more backbone and not have take everything so to heart, and not to take everything personally. And well, one case, you may lose one case, there's like 199 more to replace them. So you had to kind of develop some thick skin. So and being a judge, I will say it's a lot easier, because you're not actually advocating at all for one side. You just need to know the law and have an understanding of the facts and the evidence, and be able to apply it in a fair and impartial way. So, and that takes, years of accumulating skills and experiences to bring you to where you are today. So that's pretty much the struggles I've faced. It's been really getting the experience itself has been a struggle, but it's something that I wouldn't ever change.
Absolutely. And I hope that you guys all those gems, because Judge Liz was dropping gems after gems after gems. One of the things that oftentimes I want to just make sure you guys don't miss, because I just know, because I clerk with a federal judge, is the amount of time that Judge Elizabeth spends reading and writing. And a lot of times, you guys, when we think about judges, we oftentimes, what they do out in front of the public, in front of everybody, is just literally it's 5% of the responsibilities of what they have to do. And one of the things, oftentimes, what she really tried to really show you guys is that, we have this cookie cutter image of what a law student is, what a lawyer is, what a judge looks like. And the thing is, that image is so far off from the truth. And the thing is, you have so much control in regard to shaping the type of law student that you're going to be. You don't have to have a political science major. You can go in whatever major that you want. The thing that's actually quite wonderful that the judge just really demonstrated is her interest in English actually ended up being a stepping stone that's really served to help you right now while rocking your black robe. And I'm sure a political science degree would not have helped you as much. No shade, I'm a political science major, but I'm that English degree really has helped serve you greatly in every other aspect of where you've been along your journey to becoming a judge. And I know one of the things that we get so down on ourselves, and we think because we're struggling, because it's not easy, because for some reason in our head, we've developed this mentality that there's somebody else out there that's not struggling, or they got it easy, that for some reason that means that, maybe we should do something else. So what are some encouraging words do you have for someone who may have been rejected from law school, or who may have to retake the LSAT for a third or fourth time? What are some words of encouragement that you have for them?
So I will start off by telling you, or you all, about a case, my very first case, when I was, and through it, I'll answer the question. But my very first case that I prosecuted. Now, I was on this train to just having all these accolades when I first started, right? I was like, closing out cases, getting convictions, helping these victims out. It was just like, boom, like stars and the moon that just shined all over me. And then I got to my first trial, and I lost it. And when I say I lost it so bad that one of the jury members, when we went back to talk to them, that one of the jury members told me, "You did a bad job. You did an awful job," is what she said. And this was my first trial as a prosecutor. And almost to what you were saying, as though when you go, you don't get in the school, or you fail something and you think that this is really something for you, and then you don't do as well, or you don't do well at all in the thing that you wanted so badly. My advice to you would be to keep going, because for every failure, use that as a stepping stone, and use that as a way to push you and propel you forward. Had I never lost that trial, I would have never won the trials after it, because there's always going to be something after it. And because I lost that trial, I was able to learn so much through the trial and sort of build a sort of humility. And that humility came from me losing. Because like I said, I was on this sort of train to, I'm the baddest thing, like I was like, nobody can beat me, you know? And then boom, not only did I get beaten, but I was told that I did an awful job. So that really kind of brought me back down to earth. And it had to have put me on level ground to say, okay, you cannot, I mean, when did you start walking on water? You know what I mean? You're not perfect. So take every failure that you may perceive as a failure. It may not be a failure to somebody else, but if you perceive it as a failure, take it as a stepping stone to grow stronger, grow smarter, see what it was that you did not do well in, and try to change it. And also do some self. But if it is, and if I want it to be, let me work as hard as I can to make it mine, but also learn from my mistakes in the meantime.
Absolutely. And I know that, it ain't Sunday yet and it's not yet time for church, but delivering a word of encouragement. See here, Ari Laura just, but I won't give up. And I just want you guys to be able to understand is that every struggle that you encounter, oftentimes, it's not for the sake of your doing. It's supposed to serve a testimony to help others.
Exactly.
Because I'm more than sure that just by Elizabeth sharing that word, she's planting seeds in all of our listeners, all our tribe viewers out there to know that, hey, you know what? We're going to help you. That's going to help elevate you and manifest you moving forward towards your breakthrough of trying to manifest your lawyer. So thank you for sharing that information.
No problem.
One of the things, of course, I also want to talk to you about, because we have a lot of people out there who do not know any lawyers, do not know any judge blind. The things that I want to take an opportunity to get from you is, for example, when you are looking, of course, you, because those are some things that maybe our aspiring lawyers or even current law students can try to make sure that they're trying to put on their resumes to make sure that they're doing things to put them.
So, could you repeat the question, because you kind of broke up just a minute there.
All right, my bad. It's trying to be this, but I claim it.
We're gonna win. Yeah, we're gonna win.
What I was saying was, but what I was saying is, like, for example, we know we have a lot of people out there who are applying to law school or even applying to jobs because they just graduated from law school, and they have no clue what it is that lawyers, judges, or even law schools are looking for in their resumes. And I just want to know, like, when you look at resumes for potential clerkships, internships, or even when you submitted your resumes when you apply for jobs, what are some things that you think are important for lawyers or aspiring lawyers to have in their resumes that help them stand out?
I think it's important always to highlight your scholastic achievements, and also to highlight what type of extracurricular activities or societies that you're a part of, to show you that you're a well-rounded student, that you're just not somebody who's just head in the books, that you're able to also do things outside of school and able to practice time management, in the sense that I can do well in school, but I also can take on other extracurricular activities that kind of show my passion. Give a little bit of your personality in the resume, and make it so that somebody can read it and read it quickly. Because we live in an age now where if you don't get it, it's almost like fast food culture. If you don't get it quickly, it's gone. I don't want to have to sit here and go through like pages of information that is almost regurgitating a previous statement. So make each time, if you have any work experience, don't repeat the same type of things that you've done, because someone looking at it does not just want to read about how you've cultivated a skill in this one area. We want to see the multitude of your ability to do different things. So I would say that make the resume as succinct as possible, but also make it thorough. And that seems to be counterintuitive, but it is really helpful in seeing that most people are going to skim that resume real quick, and if something pops out to them, they're going to say, okay, I want to look more into this candidate. So make sure that your resume, it highlights the strong points that you feel are in your academic career and also your volunteer work, but make sure that I guess the points that you make about your job duty, but don't have them to be long. Like I said, people have such a short attention span. And remember that your resume is one of hundreds. So it needs to be succinct. This is what if you want to put an objective statement in it, make sure the objective statement is maybe just a sentence. It doesn't need to be a paragraph. And you can play with the margins to make it fit onto one page, but always I always do that. Margins were like 0.9 at the top, and it was like, it all fit into one page. So make your resume fit into one page, get rid of any flowery language, get right to the point. This is the top skills that I got at this job, and then move on to the next job. Highlight your scholastic achievements. Even if you don't think that they're achieved, it is an achievement. So, and also to put in any volunteers that you're a part of.
All right, so y'all catch them gems, right? Y'all heard schools being clear, and we don't want to replace valuable content with SAT words. I'm sure the judge has seen it a lot. We don't need to see the SAT words. We just want to be able to see the valuable content. Okay, law schools, just like judges, this is the judge who evaluates for clerkships. They want well-balanced individuals. They want to know what your contributions are. They want to know not just that you can do the job, but they also want to know, are you going to be a person that's going to be a good fit in their chambers? Or are you going to be a good fit in their classrooms or in their law schools? And so we want to make sure that we're bringing those things to the table. And I think one of the most important things the judge said is, it's 100, you're one of 100 other resumes. So it's important for you to be able to make sure that you're taking that opportunity when they look at it to really capture their attention, because I'm sure the judge has already viewed several hundreds of clerkships, and she sees legal intern, paralegal, all that stuff. And so she wants to see something more. And just like the judge is going to want to see something more, and when you're applying to law schools want to see something more. And for my law students out there, when you're applying to your clerkships, you just heard a judge say what they want on their resumes. So make sure that you take these gems and apply them, so that way you're putting yourself in the best position possible to be successful. And so one of the other things I've always been curious about, when you went through the process of going to law school, I know, for example, that you chose University of Detroit, Mercy, but in that process, other than the fact that there were several other schools that did offer opportunities for you, what process did you go through in regards to selecting schools? Because you had several options of the amazing awards package that the University of Detroit may have offered you. What are some of the other factors that law students need to look into when evaluating law schools for where they should go?
So, and I saw a question in the chat that said that a person was waitlisted. I got waitlisted for a lot of different law schools, and they were very top tier law schools as well. But I had to move on because I was accepted into one. I couldn't wait just for those top, even though they were, higher ranked in the University of Detroit. I had to do a balancing test as to where I would get more bang for my buck. Or would I just sit there and wait for this school to take a chance on me? I mean, you make your own future. So in regards to what law students should be considering, one is that where you want to ultimately practice. Because sometimes when you go to a different state, in which you will be practicing in, then you have to learn two sets of laws. Well, three if you include federal law, but you have to learn while you're in law school that state's law, and then once you go back to wherever state you want to practice to take the bar, you're going to have to learn that other state's law. And that goes for if you want to take multiple bars anyway, but sometimes it's easier as you're starting out to try to seek out schools that are near or in the state where you want to practice. I would also take into account the extremely high cost of law school, cheaper than may say a private one. By all means, seek that out because you don't want to be servicing a lot of debt while you're trying to also find a job. Or you don't want to be limited in the jobs that you want to take because you're like, oh, they don't pay that much. But you would get so much experience, but then you saddle with all this debt, which you may have a little bit of debt coming into it. But that doesn't mean that you can't also kind of be strategic about where you're going based on the cost. So I would say that there is a cost analysis that needs to be done in the sense that your finances need to be considered, whether or not you're going to take out a loan, apply for grants, scholarships, and then the location. Are you going to be able to transition from one state to the other state, and will that affect your ability to study for the bar in the state that you want to ultimately practice in? So those considerations, and also I always tell people too, in whatever schools that you're interested in, check out the faculty, and these are the people that's going to be teaching you the law. So if they don't know what they're not really going to help you in regards to when you start practicing or when you ultimately take the bar exam. So try to go on the faculty. That usually all schools have their faculty and their qualifications and what they've done. So you can check out their background or their resumes to see, okay, even if I go to a lower tier school, is the faculty at a point where they are just really stellar, because you could go to a higher tier school and not learn anything. So it's really up to you to do your own research, right? It's really up to you to do your research to see what does this school offer that I like about it. Is it the campus, the way the campus looks? Is it also the the rate in which people are getting jobs, or passing the bar? Are they preparing their students to get a job? What type of services do they have in regards to job finding services? Is this a good school where they actually care about their alumni, or is they just want your money and you got the degree and then you can't really do anything with it because you can't find a job? You have to consider all of those things when you're looking at law school. So do the research almost like you would at an undergraduate, but this is really going to be tied into your livelihood. So it should take a little bit more care to actually see what type of school that you'll be spending the next 3 years of your life in.
Absolutely. Again, I'm on with Making the Case with Judge Elizabeth, magistrate judge, recently appointed. Congratulations, by the way. But I want to, and she just dropped some more gems. We just dropping gems all day. One of the things that she definitely said, I want to make sure, we got to make sure we answer some of the questions that people had. Somebody said, Island Black Girl said she found it hard to find mentors. The Rams could be very lonely. And oftentimes, in pursuit of your lawyer dreams, it definitely can be lonely because more often than not, you're you're either studying for the LSAT by yourself, either two, when you're in law school, there's very few people who may look like you or me, and you're by yourself and ultimately sometimes what you have to do is you have to be able to put yourself out there in spaces to be able to try to meet lawyers and judges. And though I want you guys to be able to understand that we are now in a place, even through COVID-19, thankful to the internet, where you have opportunities to try to find mentors. There was a point in time where maybe we could say, I'll be honest with you, well, you know what? There's no way for me to get in. Now that way is no longer acceptable. And I tell you that because I love you guys. I tell you guys that I want you guys to be able to exercise and utilize these opportunities. Right now, where the judge is, there's Black Lawyers Association. There are associations like these all over the country. And so Island Black Girls, I encourage you to go to Google, put in your state, put in Black Lawyers Association, put in Hispanic Lawyers Association and look and click on the event to see about activities that they have. And some events are actually on Zoom, virtual. I know that the Black Female Lawyers Network, which you can find on Instagram, they literally have happy hours every Thursday. And they have yoga. And these are opportunities for you guys to build your network. And guess how much it costs? In most instances, $3.99. So even though it is lonely out there, and I'm sure the judge can attest to that, at times it has been lonely. Dang, by myself. But there are people out there who are willing to be a serve as a mentors and a serve as a support for you. What do you think about that, Judge?
Oh, I totally agree, and I want to just put it out there for anybody who has any questions. You can drop me a line at legal_Liz_. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have and help you to kind of navigate through this process. I get to when I'm able, considering my schedule, but also, no, I always feel like we should pay it forward. That that saying that be the person that you needed when you were growing up, it holds true. I mean, we all have to help each other and pull each other up. So I'm more than happy to speak with anybody that wants. You just feel free to send me a DM or whatever. And like you were saying in your state may have specific organizations that cater to mentorship, such as in Georgia, we have the Georgia Association of Black Women Attorneys. It is a phenomenal organization. It is past and present judges, attorneys, all kind of sisters that are just phenomenal in their own right, in their own field. So we have all type of resources that if you don't know what you don't know, if you don't know how to get the resources, you're not going to be able to access the resources. So it's good to have these talks. It's good to be able to contact people who've been through it, to be able to get you to the point where you need to be. So I'm always open to questions or mentorship opportunities as well.
And what I jokingly tell people, I say, you know what, you can slide into someone's DMs to ask questions about any old random thing. So you know what, it is quite okay. And in fact, I'm sure it is quite fine with people who are in spaces where you want to be, to reach out to them and ask them questions as well. And when you do that, do not be offended if in fact they do not respond immediately.
Right.
Understand that they may have other things to do, because sometimes they don't even get the notification. Sometimes it goes to that other file that people don't even look at. And so understand that as well. But I encourage you guys to make sure that we are now in a time and space where those doors are open. But it's just going to be up to you to be able to step outside of your comfort zone.
Correct.
And really try to take that step forward. And we can't use COVID-19 as an excuse anymore, because there are people out there, in spite of COVID-19, Judge Elizabeth is still making moves, still operating her courtroom. And so the same way that she's finding a way, we have to also make sure that we're finding a way as well to manifest our lawyers, to make those steps and move forward. Let's see, I'm going through some of the questions that people have asked here. Someone asked, well, what advice do you have in regards to extracurricular activities that we could add to our resume that aren't like academic, outside of academics?
Mm-hmm. I would recommend like
what are some things
doing just Boys and Girls Club is good. Whatever, if you are part of a local church, I'm sure they have ministry opportunities. And if you're not a part of a church, then you can seek out sort of religious organizations. I would say that usually when we recommend community service, we do Salvation Army, those type of things where they show that you're giving back to the community. So you got your Salvation Army, Boys and Girls Club. You usually can Google volunteer opportunities in my area. It's literally that easy. And you can pull up different places where you can volunteer. Maybe a little bit tricky now that with COVID, but I'm sure a lot of places are open to probably, providing food to healthcare workers. Based on the time, people have been very creative. Let me just say that. People have been very creative about creating volunteer opportunities based on the times that we're in. So I really would encourage all of y'all to just, it doesn't have to be legally based, because I can tell you when I went to law school, when I was applying to law school, I didn't do any legal internship. I didn't do any sort of thing outside of the volunteer activities that I was doing with like the Golden Key and the National Honor Society and things like that. It wasn't like a make or break in my resume, because really when you apply to law school, they look at the totality of your application package, and that includes your grades, your LSAT score, and whatever your resume, which may or may not include extracurricular activities, but it should. And those can come in the form of volunteer activities that you've done, mentorship, like if you've mentored at a high school or something like that. I spoke recently at the Columbus Scholars Program, and they had a completely virtual program this year. And they had volunteers as well. So you can check out local schools to see if they're doing any summer programs and if they need volunteers there. And make sure to add that on your resume.
Absolutely. Now, of course, one of the things that we have always recommended to our tribe is volunteermatch.com. Volunteermatch.com is an online resource that also, in addition to providing you with opportunities to do face-to-face mentoring and volunteer opportunities, it also provides an opportunity for you to do virtual volunteering. So that means you don't need a mask. You can do it at your day. And what you guys have to be able to understand, if the judge tells you, do what the judge tells you to do. Okay? The judge tells you that volunteer experience is important. Do you know what that means? Volunteer experience is important. I understand that, like, for example, maybe getting legal experience right now may be challenging. But you know what you can do? You can go to volunteermatch.com, a free resource, free, to try to build your resume. And one of the things that you guys have to be able to understand is, if you know that everybody and their mama's out there saying, well, you know what, can't volunteer because of COVID-19, the fact that you're doing it, the fact that you're doing things actively is going to be something that's going to be a huge selling point to you, not just for when you're applying to law school, but also when you're trying to apply for a job after you graduate from law school or in the middle of law school, because that's going to speak to your work ethic. One of the things that the judge has said, implied, but I want you guys to catch, is understand is that judges, like the judge here, they're looking for people with good character. They're looking for people with good core values. And so that's why she's been emphasizing volunteering, because it shows what type of character you are. It shows, do you have good values? Are you actually about making a difference? Is what you're projecting on the other parts of your application going to be consistent? Because we could write essays, we could have LORs, all those things. But if those things are not being matched by what we're contributing on our own volunteering wise, then that's really just missing the mark. And so you want to be able to try to express, that is something that's important. I don't know if you guys caught that from the judge, but you need to understand how important that is.
Very important.
Let's see here. I have another question. Someone said, Relina, thank you for your question. It says, do you think it's normal to grapple with the inner conflict of pursuing a dream of becoming an attorney, but also contributing to the prison industrial complex? It's a deep question. You want me to take a first shot at this?
I can go ahead, because I think that a lot of times when people hear black prosecutor, they may think, oh, okay, you've been locking black people up, and you're kind of part of the problem. But the thing is, in regards to the internal conflict, it's not necessarily an internal conflict between just being an attorney and contributing. It's the type of attorney that you are and the type of mindset that you have in regards to what your practice of law entails. So if you are going into this just to make money and you don't care if your client is found guilty or not, you just got that check, then you probably are contributing to the prison industrial complex. However, if you are a person that wants to represent people and make sure that all their constitutional rights are held, like protected in such a way that you take your job as an extension of yourself and of your morals and of your ethics, then you probably will not be contributing to the prison industrial complex. But as far as prosecutors, we need black prosecutors. We need people who are able to look at a case, because prosecution doesn't just involve you locking people up. part of my duties was going through a case to determine whether or not it should even see the light of day. When you get 200 cases, you have to do something to streamline them because you cannot fight them all. And some of them are complete trash. So your power as a prosecutor is to weed out the shaft, to get rid of the junk. And if you have a heart for people and you see that, yeah, there's no way I'm going to prove this, and then these witnesses seem like they're lying, you should be able to do that in a way that looks at people as people and not a set of facts on a police report. So it depends on the person, just like with police officers, it depends on the person. Because you could have black police officers that don't care about anybody, you know what I mean? And you can have white ones that do. So it just depends. Like, you can have prosecutors who just want to make their conviction rates go up. But you can have ones that I hope that I was, that actually looked at this and how can I help this person? Because I tell you, the majority of my cases, the victims were black people too. So you had a lot of this sort of like neighborhood crime or things, and a lot of times the neighborhoods were black neighborhoods. So not only are you dealing with a black defendant sometimes, but sometimes the victims themselves are black. And what about them? They matter too. So a lot of these considerations go into prosecution in the sense that, no, you don't want to be a part of the prison industrial complex, but you also know that I have a part to play where I want to help as many people as I can. And that not only includes the victims, but in some cases it includes the defendants, because I took a lot of juvenile cases. And whereas we had some cases where it was a burglary, but they broke into a school to steal popsicles because they were hungry. And then we had other cases where they were, some juveniles, shot people and injured them. But so you have to be able to look at each case individually and say, how can I help this person? I don't want to look at them just as a set of facts, but I also want to look at, you may be dangerous to the community. So I would make the appropriate recommendation in that point. So in your internal struggle, I believe it's advantageous to look at the reason why you want to become an attorney. And if it's to help people, then you will find careers, you will find the industry, the legal industry that will help to cultivate that desire to help people. And it's not going to be in one that perpetuates the prison industrial system. It will be in one that actually seeks to expose it and to diminish it such that everyone is treated fairly under the eyes of the law.
I think you pretty much answered that question. You pretty much answered that question. I have nothing further to add to that.
Okay, nothing further.
We'll move on to the next question that someone asked. Well, someone asked, it's a question I could probably answer. It said, well, how far back should you go with your experience? Well, I'll tell you this. When it comes to your experience, you probably don't want to go as far back as maybe college,
right,
depending on how long ago it was that you graduated from college. But one of the things that's going to be important, and Judge, you tell me if I'm correct or wrong with this, but what's going to be more important than the amount of experience that you have is how current it was. Mm-hmm. Because at times we have a tendency or a habit to add to our resumes while we're in college, and then after we graduate from college, stop. Mm-hmm. And so I, for one, think it's important for that volunteer experience to be fairly recent. Right. And if you find that the volunteer experience listing is over a year old, you're not really putting yourself in the position to show that you're passionate or this is something that you want, because there's other people who are going to be constantly building and adding. But, what do you think about that, Judge?
I thought that was a great question, because I remember vividly. It's so much that, when you get older, and I'm not that old, but still my memory kind of fades. But I remember when I was sitting in a library in UGA, and I was drafting my resume for law school. And I was thinking to myself, how far do I go back? Do I put when I worked at Chick-fil-A in high school? Because I mop floors really good. I mean, that could be helpful. Like, I just was so confused, like, how far do I go back? But I would echo what you said. It needs to be relevant experience. And that's what you will learn in the law. Evidence is only admitted if it's relevant. It's some other qualifications too. But one of the things is that evidence has to be relevant. Likewise, your experience needs to be relevant. It needs to be based in a smaller amount of time. It doesn't need to be elongated where that you are putting things on there that happened when you were in high school or whatever, unless they're extraordinary. But that goes back to my keeping your resume short. you can shorten it by taking out extraneous details that may not be current in time. So I totally agree with you in that statement.
Absolutely. And also, I'm sure the judge can attest to this. They can tell really quickly when you're just trying to have stuff on there just to fill it up, to make it
Right.
a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And so you want to make sure that it's relevant. And that relevancy does not mean only law-based.
Right.
The relevance means in regards to showcasing skills like, independent thinking, leadership, critical thinking, managing systems, research. And those are things that could be, it's not limited to just the law. That's something that could apply towards you being a store manager or towards you, of
Right.
course, doing something else. And so make sure that on your resumes that you're really showcasing the things that would really make judge go, hey, what?
Exactly. Yeah.
That's the goal.
True. That's true.
If
That's
you-
still like, it doesn't have to be legal experience, because you're not going to have that much legal experience unless you a lawyer or just graduating from law school. But in getting into law school, put down the relevant experience, even if it's not legally based.
All right, fantastic. Now, I don't want to take too much of the judge's time. I want to thank again Judge Elizabeth for joining us. I think we may have answered all the questions. I want to thank you again. We had technical difficulties, but through it all, we still made it happen. Again, thank you so much, Judge Elizabeth, for joining us. Thank you, tribe members, for joining us for our Growth Mindset Week. This is our first return series for Making the Case. I look forward to us having some more, and I look forward to also possibly talking to the judge again in the future.
Oh, definitely.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Judge Elizabeth, for joining us for Making the Case.
Thank you, everybody. All right, all the best.
And future lawyers, what I want you guys to be able to understand is that you can be Judge Elizabeth too, all right? Everything that the judge has done is also something very possible for you guys to be able to manifest and do as well. Understand that no matter where you are, it could be from a small town like Judge Elizabeth. It does not matter if you come from a big town. You could have children. You could have been dismissed from law school. You could have had Fs on your scores or low LSAT scores, that you too can still be able to manifest your lawyer dreams. And so I hope that you guys were able to get a lot of information from our first series of Making the Case for Your Lawyer Dreams. And I hope that you guys didn't hear from me. You heard it from the judge in regards to how important volunteer experience is, how important it is to make sure that you're trying to wow them with what the content that you provide. And it doesn't just have to be legal experience. So I hope you guys got a lot of gems from this series today. And again, if you guys need help with getting into law school or manifesting your lawyer dreams, book a one-on-one power session with me. We'll work together to help you be able to manifest your dreams. We've helped so many people so far. And you know what? I want to help more people get into law school as well. So don't hesitate to reach out. We look forward to talking to you guys again tomorrow. I think tomorrow we're going to teach you guys how to make your letters of recommendation and your resume drip. Because at the end of the day, just like the judge says, your resumes are so important. And we want to make sure that you guys learn how to do that well. So make sure that you go ahead and sign up in the link in our so you guys can learn how to make those letters of recommendation phenomenal, and learn also how to make sure that you're making that resume, take a double take and make sure that you're able to put yourself in a position to get into law school. I look forward to talking to you guys again, and continue to fight for your dreams. Realize what you won't do, another aspiring lawyer will do. So because of that, you can't stop and you won't give up until you manifest that dream. I'll talk to you guys later. Keep fighting.